Okay, Mr. Speaker, I can hardly hear myself with all the fantastic public display of democracy going on outside.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
But I believe I have another floor amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Please proceed. Clerk, has amendment number 20 been circulated with the members? Have copies been circulated?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, copies of floor amendment number 20 have been distributed.
Thank you very much. Representative Marcos Oshiro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I just want to add and thank you for allowing me the privilege of speaking on my constituents' behalf as a full and free member of the House of Representatives. It's great to be in democracy this afternoon. Floor amendment number 20 is footer number 14-0234. Again, it adds a non-severability.
Representative Marcos Oshiro, you need to make a motion first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me first make a motion to adopt floor amendment number 20. Thank you.
And is there a second?
There's a second, Mr.
It has
Speaker.
been moved and seconded. Representative Marcos Oshiro, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Floor amendment number 20 adds a severability provision, which I think is very important in these types of measures. It also adds the rulemaking limitation to Chapter 91, the Hawaii Administrative Procedures Act, to the Department of Health. It deletes the divorce proceedings provisions that I find so offensive and maybe unconstitutional. It inserts the Connecticut State's Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And since one of our former congressmen, now governor, is here, I need to mention that this Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which was approved by the United States Congress and Senate back in 1993, was for the important purpose of reestablishing the compelling interest test articulated in the Schubert case that was overridden by the Peyote case, the Oregon case, the Oregon unemployment case. And then Congress had the wisdom and the wherewithal to almost unanimously reenact the standard as far as federal courts go and federal agencies go on what the proper balancing test was. And that's the Schubert standard, whereby there is a government authority to issue regulations and rules of our people and practices, but it has to have a compelling purpose, and it has to be narrowly construed for that purpose when it runs up against a person's individual freedom of religion under Article 1 of our constitutions, and that it cannot have a substantial burden upon the person's freedom of religion. And I think that's an important component that needs to be put into this bill to provide clear legislative authority to an enactment of this provision so that our courts will have the proper guidance and authority to balance out the competing interests of equal protection due process against First Amendment, freedom of religion, freedom from religion, freedom of speech, freedom of publication, freedom of assembly. It also adds the exemptions for small business, and much ado has been said about it. But let me state for the record, be very, very clear about it. It's for a limited period of time, 3 years. Applies to only small business, 5 or less, small mom and pops. It deals with all the aspects of human creativity, of free speech, which is components of taking a photograph, writing a letter, singing a song, doing a poem, publicizing an announcement, or operating in the technological world of a website or a database, in wedding planning or advertising or posting of gifts or solicitations. All those things are covered in the area of speech, and that's why it's so important, Mr. Speaker. That's why it's so important. And if the instance arises, Mr. Speaker, that the couple cannot receive those services, they are not easily attainable, then the pendulum swings back to that couple against the religious beliefs of that small business owner. But it provides at least a balancing test and an ability for the courts and for the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission to clearly look at the competing interests and values. And that's why I think it's so, so, so important. And again, Mr. Speaker, it deletes the... that's it, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Representative. Is there any further discussion on this item? If not, then Representative Woolley, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In opposition.
Please proceed.
I just want to let the caucus know that I don't like the language of this bill. I just saw it for the first time just now. And I want to explain why. I'm a mama bear, one of the few mama bears in this caucus, actually. And there's something that mama bears do share, even though we are all very different in our opinions. And during the testimony, there was one mama bear in particular that I saw who actually changed her testimony. I think she and her husband may have been the only ones to change their testimony from opposition to comments. And I asked her if she could explain to me why. And she wrote me a letter, and I would like to share that with you. She gave it to me this morning, and she also provided me with a book. I'm writing you as a friend with as much aloha as I can send, and I know you'll hear me as a friend. I know you're up against a lot here. There's a typhoon going on in the capital right now. My hope is that this letter can be for you in this moment, and I have calm in the middle of the storm. I would like to share with you the pivotal moment for me this last week. On Halloween, I arrived at the Capitol near sundown and saw a man from a distance. His arm was in a sling, and he was walking down the sidewalk with a friend. As he walked past some Let the People Vote sign holders, he turned to his friend, and although I couldn't hear it, it was obvious from the deep sadness on his face he was saying something to the effect of, "This contention is so wrong." When someone is in pain, is it not our nature as women to be compassionate, to reach out to them and try to help? I felt drawn to him and wanted to help him, to find out why there was such sadness in his eyes. I ran into him again later. I asked if he was okay and if he'd share with me what happened. He told me hesitantly that his arm had been broken in 5 places and that, yes, this happened at the hands of people who didn't like what he had to say. And then he backed off, went to do something else. I stuck around. I couldn't move. I wanted to know more. I was far more than curious. I needed to know how this sort of thing could happen. A few minutes later, he came back to talk with me. Jessica, it was awful. His eye was still a painful, deep purple, his nose bent and broken. This soft-spoken, honest, intelligent young man had been pretty brutally beaten and badly injured for sharing his opinion in America, here in Hawaii, that week. Granted, this kind of thing happened among the blue shirts too. Just a few days earlier, I met a woman who had been rammed by a truck just for holding a picket sign. Terrible. If I had felt the first stirrings of feelings for the other side on Monday at the rally here on Wednesday, it hit me. Overwhelming compassion and understanding. I could not hold back the tears, and then we were both hugging and crying. I felt the same way, the exact same way as I would feel if he were my son. The outpouring of love was almost tangible, and the connection between us was the most powerful I've ever felt outside my family. I walked away from that experience a different person. How could I not?
All right, Representative, I believe we have a time limit.
I would like to submit these in writing, if that's okay. And
That's okay. So ordered, Representative.
Okay, thank you,
Mr. Speaker,
Thank you very much. Yes, Representative Saiki.
Call for the question, but please permit the move on to make a rebuttal
Question has
argument.
been called. We'll give the opportunity for the maker of the motion to please speak and rebut. Representative Marcus Oshiro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Just to clarify several other items on the record, when I made the reference to a former congressperson back in 1993, I was making my reference to none other than our illustrious and beloved Governor Abercrombie. Also with him at that time was also a much loved and beloved and respected and adored Senator Inouye. Also with him at that time was our much beloved, respected, and adored Senator Daniel K. Akaka. And of course, who we all love, cherish, adore, and think of many days, especially these recent past days, Congresswoman Patsy T. Mink. I'm proud to say that all of the Hawaii delegation at that time saw the wisdom and necessity to bring balance back to the equation that was driven apart in our country through the Rehnquist court's ruling in the peyote case, the unemployment case, that they felt and understood that it was important to recognize government's authority to regulate any and all avenues of public policy, but it needs to stop and pause when it gets to the door of a personal freedom of religion, of practice and belief of people. And so they passed that law, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, to provide that balance. And that's why I'm here again, Mr. Speaker, on this floor again, Mr. Speaker, asking for this floor amendment. It's consistent with the Connecticut law that we reference in this House Draft 1. I think it's necessary and appropriate to buttress whatever we try and do and offer protections in this draft. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, Representative, thank you very much. Is there a second to the motion to cease debate?
Mr. Speaker,
Representative,
I second
there
that
is a
motion.
second. It has been moved and seconded.
Mr.
So all
Speaker?
those in favor of
May I
stopping debate may signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is passed, so we're going to the main motion, the amendment. Amendment number 20. Those in favor of amendment number 20 signify by saying aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion dies. Thank you very much. Okay, we're on number 21 right now. Representative Oshiro.
Mr. Speaker, short recess, please.
Recess.